GM, welcome to another Touchgrass podcast episode. Today we have a really special one. I know we haven't spoken about privacy in a very long time. Today we have Crew from the Umbra team. If you guys think back like a month ago, we had a boss on who is also part of the Umbra team. With the boss, we talked about a very separate topic on the MetaDAO stuff. Crew obviously will ask him about his experience raising with MetaDAO, but welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah, glad to be here. Uh,
Awesome. All
it was
right.
always on my mind. It's been like rescheduled so many
It's
times
been
at this
rescheduled a
stage.
lot. It
Yeah,
has been rescheduled a lot. I did see the pod with the Lightspeed guys, so I'm like really
um,
pumped to sort of have you
yeah,
and ask our own flavor of questions.
mhm.
I think what would
Uh-huh.
be really helpful for the audience is let's sort of start off with like a brief introduction about yourself.
Right.
And then I think something that our audience really appreciates always is sort of the founding story of Umbra. Like, how did you actually end up building this, and like, what were the iterations that you went through? A brief introduction
Yeah,
about yourself, and then any insight you can give into why you building this.
yeah. I mean, it's a pretty interesting story because I do not come from a technical background. Uh, I was a car designer by education. Like I literally used to design cars for a living. Uh, then just pivoted to working on products like UI, UX stuff. Spent about 2.5 years in the Solana ecosystem, just contributing to communities like Super Team. Of course, I'm still a member there, working with like different protocols on Solana. And just last November, not last to last November, I just left my last job that I had and decided to just dive into being a founder. But back then I was still clueless to what do I have to build and what's something unique. Um, the idea was always again to build something unique, not a fork of an existing product or just adding your spice to existing ones. Um, it always was to find the biggest gap in the ecosystem, which I found privacy, uh, which was an obvious one. Um I just realized that everything is public, every move, every balance, um, every counterparty. Now, there's like a funny story about this that I had a group chat, and of course Abbas was a part of it, and I never knew that my wallets were traced. Uh, to an extent where I get a call from one of my friends in that group chat in the middle of the night saying that, "Hey, I saw you trade like fart coin. Do you know? Do you have any alpha about it?" And I was like, no, I have none. I just like it, so I bought it. Um, but that was like one of the first signals that kind of inclined me towards building in privacy. The second one was a blog by Profit, which was about incentives in crypto, and it had this one sentence where uh, he said that like crypto is just better than anything that exists in a traditional world. It's 24/7. It's fast. There's no borders here. Instant settlements. But the only thing that's missing is privacy, and that was like a confirmation. Okay, so this is what I have to do. This is what I have to build. Um, Looked at all the solutions that existed. Of course, one of the solutions that existed was Elusive, which was built by the Arcium team.
Yeah.
My idea was to go one step beyond what they did, which I mean, I was really glad that I am building on Arcium and the fact that I'm collaborating with them and we are moving this idea of building privacy together. And here we are. Of course, there is a long story about the MetaDAO raise as well,
Yeah,
but we
and
talk about
you
it
know,
ahead.
we'll get to RKM, we'll get to Metadata. I do
Yeah.
want to highlight a little bit on like super team dynamics. I want to
Oh
ask
yeah.
you, like, when you were part of super team, was that also a motivating factor towards like when you wanted to become a founder? That
Yeah.
experience, that community sort of empowered you to think like, okay, I can actually become a founder in the super team in the Solana ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it just laid a pathway, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, right? You started as a contributor. In order for you to get a role as a member, I won a couple of bounties. I researched with existing members of Super Team, got my first job through it. made my first set of friends in crypto through it. Uh, then, as you meet these friends who are like a couple of years ahead of you in the journey, you start to learn more, you adapt more to how the markets are, uh, and how this industry works. And that eventually did let me to become or make a decision of being a founder.
Awesome. All right. Let's move this along. Let's talk about
uh
Arcium. We
Yep.
talked about elusive a little bit.
Yeah.
First of all, what I do want to understand is when we say Umbra is built on top of Arcium, what does that mean? Like, what does
Uh-huh.
Arcium do in this equation? What does Umbra exactly do? Can you talk
Right.
about the entire stack and then talk about which team contributes to what?
Right. So when you hear that X is built on the top of Y, they usually imagine one team shipping the SDK or like an APK, and the other team just plugging into it. The situation here is this is not what it is. We are actively building alongside Arcium team from very early on, to a point where we started building on Arcium, let's say 0.1. I'm not really sure about the versioning, but right now we are at Arcium 0.9, right? So we've literally seen how Nico, Yannick, Arihant, and the rest of the team build this product out of scratch. And you can imagine it this way, that they're building the engine of a car and we're building the car on top of it, right? Um, we just want to lead this conversation of privacy, build tools together, make privacy native to Solana, and allow other teams to build using both Umbra and Arcium together. Now, this is a very different relationship than you usually see. Uh, but for us, it means that we understood this stack at depth that most applications never get. And when something is broken or something needs to be optimized, we are not filing a support ticket in any way. We are in the same group chat working alongside the engineers. So for Arcium, having a real application running on their infrastructure during the development meant that they had like a constant feedback loop on what developers would actually need once they go live. And
Yeah,
this is like an honest collaboration between the two teams.
that makes sense. And then, just for our listeners to understand, what exactly does Umbra do? And then,
Right.
what does Arcium enable Umbra to do?
Right. Okay. This might be like a important question to answer, because most of the time people think that Umbra and Arkham are the same team. They're the two different teams. Like the analogy goes, they're building the engine, we are building the application. Uh, in privacy, there exists multiple types of PETs. We call it privacy enhancing techs. ZK is one. TEs are one. MPCs, one of them. And For my team at Umbra, it really felt going with Arcium and using an MPC would be the right decision. You can talk to the dev team about what the technical details are. Um, but that is one of the main reasons why we are building with Arcium. And what Umbra does, Umbra wants to be the private financial layer of not just Solana, but how money flows on the internet. Right now, what we have is a mobile wallet that allows you to shield any asset. And it just does not allow you to shield that asset, but it also allows you to swap it, trade it, send it to your friends, family, or pay bills using it. Right. So that's where Umbra is. And like I said, Arkham is the engine we just build on top of it.
That makes a lot of sense. So essentially, like another question I had was, you know, I've spoken to the Maiden guys, I've spoken to the Midnight guys. Like we've spoken to a lot of privacy projects on the pod, and all of these are either like their own isolated environments or their own chains. Why was it the right move to partner with Arcium and build this on Solana? Like I'm trying to understand why not build your own chain and try to do this. Like what's the trade-offs and why were you guys more lean towards this decision?
Mm. Mm. Let me think of a better way to answer this. Okay. Um, so privacy usually works with shielded pools uh, to an extent, right? Like you might have heard of Stashi and Zcash, which allows you to shield Zcash. That's a shielded pool. That's how most of privacy works. But when there are these chains, you are essentially building in a silo. Your balance lives in a pool that's separate from where the money is actually moving. Uh, the biggest problem here is composability. Like if your balance is locked in a silo, you can use it with other protocols, you can use it with other ecosystems. You really can't take a position in a DeFi app. You can't provide liquidity. You can't participate in on-chain economy in any meaningful way unless you first de-shield your funds and expose yourself. Uh, this shared encrypted state that Arcium is building solves it. Your encrypted balance isn't in a locked pool. It's a first-class object on the chain. It can interact with other protocols, smart contracts, can operate it on it without ever learning the underlying value, and you get privacy and composability at the same time. Now, for institutions and like huge capital, there's a difference between a privacy tool that is useful for one thing versus privacy infrastructure that works across everything that they do on chain. It's a difference between a private room uh, and having a private layer of over an entire building, right? So that's that.
That makes sense. And it also, I would assume, building on Solana gives people the familiarity of interacting with an
Yeah.
ecosystem that they're already using. How
As
has reception been within the Solana ecosystem for Umbra so far? Like, do you see there's user appetite for private transactions within the Solana ecosystem?
yeah, man, I have a really interesting story with like Solana, right? Like I'm like born and brought up in this ecosystem. Like it's been like 5 years and I've never left. It's genuinely a special place to build right now. Um, the energy is actually real. There is no like fake agendas here. The dev culture is serious. There is performance characteristics, throughputs, finality speeds, call it anything. But especially for privacy, you need these fast settlements. If a confidential transaction is taking you, 30 minutes and 3% of the time, then it's not worth it. Of course, the community has been incredibly supportive so far, even after the amount of delays that we have had. Uh, the ecosystem was really receptive when we had the MetaDAO raise. And of course, the ecosystem tends to reward teams that are genuinely building, not just farming attention or chasing narrative cycles. And we really feel that. Um, that said, we're building something novel. It's not a fork of something existing. It's hard work. It's genuinely hard work. And we are pushing into a territory where no established pattern existed. There's no playbook to refer to. Um, and that's exciting and exhausting in equal manner. But Solana is the right home for this, and the combination of everything Solana, MetaDAO, Arcium, Umbra, and the combination of performance, ecosystem depth just made it an obvious choice.
No, for sure. There are two things that I do want to sort of deep dive into based
Yeah.
on that. Like, do you want to first take some time to address why there have been delays in the
Yeah,
launch?
sure.
Maybe start.
Sure. Yeah, of course. First things first, like I said, we're building something novel. It's almost to a point we are just building and breaking things every day. Uh, we get one chance to launch. In fact, anyone gets one chance to launch. And the fact that we are building in privacy means that we genuinely do have just one shot at a good launch. Uh, right now, where we are is in a situation, I think Elon Musk or Nikita Beer called it. the app purgatory, which is you have everything ready, but it's just you're waiting on a permission from the App Store, the Google Play Store, and the Chrome extension store, right? However, we have our test flight link live. That is one of the final versions, or at least the final version that will go out. It's free to use. Anyone can just download the test flight and use it. It's just a matter of officially making an announcement that we are live. So
Got it.
people may want to consider it as a delay. I don't think so. It's a delay. It's just
I think it's something that every builder
communication.
goes through. Like the
Yeah,
one thing that
it's
any crypto builder can't estimate on is how long the app
yeah,
store will take. Right? I guess not
yeah.
even like crypto builders. Like this is like builders in
Any builder.
general. Any builder.
Uh,
Um,
we assumed that the thing would take like a week, but it's been 3 weeks, so it's slightly concerning now. Uh, to a point that we don't know how exactly to communicate this thing to the community. But for sure, I'm doing my due diligence, writing these monthly updates, and informing the people where we are.
Yeah, I think in coming on the like I saw the Lightspeed pod. You're obviously
Yep.
doing this one, like just having a lot of forward communication in terms of where
Yeah.
you are in the product life cycle.
Yep.
Tends to help a lot. Do you think raising on MetaDAO also puts like this unsaid pressure on a founder to give these timely? Like, do you think like it does that go in the back of your mind? Like we've raised on MetaDAO and there's like this new mechanics. Uh, does that also play a part in this?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what's not really good with our industry is that people tend to think about things that really don't matter. You know, the focus is always on things that do not matter at all. Uh, what my point of view and what the rest of the Umbra team thinks is that we are responsible, we are liable for the capital that we use. We are honest about where we are, um, and whatever we build, right? And if that comes with being a public face or keeping yourself open to criticism, be it in any shape or form, like you can, people have memes about it. It's fine. Um, that comes with it. You have to keep your chin up. You know you're honest with what you're doing, and do not really care about opinions that aren't right. Uh, you do your best. You expect to get the best, uh,
I agree.
and that's what we do. We that's what we thought before we made a choice to raise on Metadata, right?
That makes sense.
Uh, like I often mention this in podcasts or in just general conversation that we raised 3 million in 4 days, uh, but we had $155 million.
I was just getting to that. Like, how how did that feel? Like, I think if you think about it, like a team that did not have any plans to fundraise and then immediately gets into like this sort of conversation with MetaDAOs, lists
Uh,
you looking for $3 million, and then you suddenly like oversubscribe by 155. Like
yeah,
traditional VC mechanics, like a traditional VC would tell you to just raise the amount and just sort of
yeah.
take as much money as you can. Like talk us through like that week of like, this
Oh
was happening,
wow.
happened with the
Um,
team, how are you feeling, all of that.
yeah. So by the time we had the MetaDAO raise, we've been building since 5 months, like half a year, I guess. Um, we did actually try to raise through the traditional VC routes, um, but something just didn't feel right. Right, like um, we are a crypto native product. Um, we're building on an ecosystem that was founded on the principle of removing trust from intermediaries, letting markets speak, let founders be honest. If it felt wrong to then just go raise money through a process that it is as centralized as it gets, um, small number of people in a room making a binary decision based on a pitch deck. Um, I'd been watching Futaki for a while. I saw the Omni pair raise. The idea that the market continuously prices the probability of the project delivering on its goals rather than a one time yes or no vote, that's fundamentally more honest and an honest signal in every shape and form. I had this 2 hour long call with Prophet where he walked me through all the mechanics in detail. Uh, I took like some time, maybe a week. And of course, Abbas was at MetaDAO working as a contributor there. And I just felt that this is right. And you know what happened in those 4 days? By the way, another quick story, like our race was supposed to happen 1 month after the actual date. Like, since it was my birthday after a month, I was like, it would be great, you know. I didn't look at what the market conditions were. But I got a message from Profit that, hey, other teams are waiting on you. We want you to go first. So I just made the decision, and the entire raise process was a week, like 3 days of an announcement and 4 days of a raise. Okay, and I genuinely do believe in this process because it's like you concentrate the entire raise process that you have um, through VCs that takes months into like 4 days. I maybe took 100 calls in those 4 days, convincing VCs, whales, other liquid funds to invest in Umbra. Uh, and the result was just beyond what we expected. Like the maximum I expected was 5 million to be raised. And I was like just beyond. I literally cried after, you know, uh, the race was announced and the race began and everything. Amazing time. But the other good thing is that, right, coming back to the fact that we had $155 million commitments in total, right? And we gave it all back. Uh, that decision of giving back what we didn't need, I think that said something that no pitch deck or a press release could ever say. We're not here to extract. Like my team does not have any tokens right now, like 0%. It only depends on our performance and our honesty for us to unlock those. Now, like we took what we needed to build, we gave the rest back. The response from the community was incredible. It built a level of trust with our investors, the broader ecosystem, that I don't think we could have manufactured any other way.
No, I agree, and I think especially when I heard about, like you were looking for three, and then there was like 155 raised. I
Yeah,
like between me and KG, we were like, yeah,
yeah,
these boys are gonna increase the amount that they were gonna raise, and you'd probably
um,
raise like a 10. But then when the
yeah,
comms came out that you were sticking to the 3 million and then
yeah,
giving on the back, I thought that was an immense show of like accuracy in terms of what you needed to make sure the first round of this project goes live. And then I would assume you would have future fundraising rounds where
yes,
if you ever needed funds, you would raise again. But then this is like the bare minimum that you needed to
yeah.
kick this off. Do you have any advice for founders who are sort of looking at the MetaDAO process right now? I know since the Umbra race, like I think a lot of projects have tried. There's a lot of like pros and cons that the community does evaluate when it comes to
Mhm.
founders thinking about raising on MetaDAO? Like, what's your number one advice for founders who might be evaluating this right now?
Right. Uh, Now the advice could really differ from the fact that a protocol is pre-product, pre-revenue, or it's post-product, post-revenue, right? Like something like Avicii could play this very differently, and this is all game theory. Like you just have to be in your senses while making a decision. But my advice for someone who is still pre-product, pre-revenue, is that raise what you need. Never let greed set in. Uh, I raised 3 million because that's the exact amount I needed, and I still need to ship Umbra, at least the first version of it, and making things live. That's it. That's the whole idea. That's the ethos that I come from. And I think every product, every protocol that is pre-product should follow the same.
Yeah,
And I think most of the teams who have raised on MetaDAO have followed the same idea. Um, and I think it's absolutely more than enough. Now, I agree that um, no system is perfect, but we are still early. The amount of things that Prophet, Colin, and the rest of the team have done already for this ecosystem is way beyond just a thank you for existing, right? It's an absolute game changer for raising capital in crypto, and everyone should do it.
I agree. Uh, Obviously, like we've seen Prophet sort of go through,
Yeah,
the one phase to the doc phase. How's it like working with him and his team on like the race process? Like I would assume they're like super in the trenches with you.
right.
Do you still talk to them like frequently, like after the race as well? Like how does the
Uh,
dynamic?
yeah. Every once in a while, I keep checking in with Colin and Prophet, especially Colin because post race I was in a really uh, a bad mood for most. Like I was just depressed because of all the euphoria, and then there's this sudden release, and
Yeah,
um,
it's
and
like a
and then
post race downer.
yeah, it's like exactly right that right. And Colin often checked in with me that true. I hope you're doing okay. So I just keep him updated about where I am, what I do, and where Umbra is. With Prophet, again, it's the same. I just give him updates about where we are, what our opinions about like the changes in MetaDAO are. Like we had I think we have a group with all the MetaDAO founders, the ones who have raised in a permission way, just suggesting like the MetaDAO team on what's right, what's wrong, and how to make it more founder friendly. And they are always receptive to it. Like the recent changes in how a team based proposal works. Uh, is like just a sign towards things changing, and these guys are like just serial workers. They do not like complain that they have such attention, such huge loads on their shoulders. I often complain more than they do, and I have far lesser uh, you know responsibilities on my shoulders. But just nothing but respect for them.
That makes sense. Crew, this has been awesome. I know we're coming close to time. I do want to
Yeah,
ask you more broader thoughts on the privacy narrative.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
we've seen the privacy top come in terms of price action. I would say at least
yeah,
last year, November, I would say was
yeah.
sort of the mini top. Uh,
Uh-huh.
we're still seeing privacy tech being adopted on every front, and people are still building in the space. What are some gaps that you see in privacy tech right now, and how do you see this evolving in like the broader crypto ecosystem?
Right. Um, hmm. I think that privacy has had a complicated reputation in crypto. For the longest time, it was synonymous with either mixers, private chains that never got any real adoption. The reputation was earned. A lot of what was shipped under the privacy banner was either technically weak or used primarily for illicit activity, or they were just transactions that were routed through a centralized exchange. Uh, what's changing right now, and this is genuinely exciting, is that the conversation has shifted from how crypto should have privacy to what privacy that actually works looks like. Regulators are starting to find the difference between programmable privacy with like compliance tooling, unregulated mixing. Institutions are asking for confidentiality as a requirement, not a nice to have. And the demand signal has slightly matured from what it was 2 years ago. Where I see it going is uh, privacy becomes like a base infrastructure and not a feature. Uh, this is the aim that I'm building Umbra with. The same way that you do not think about HTTPS anymore, you just know that your connection is encrypted. um, confidential transfers, anonymity will become the default rail for anything involving real finance and real financial value on chain. Now, about the gaps that I still see is compliance tooling that needs to mature significantly. The screening infrastructure exists now. We are building those integrations with Range and Groom Lake, but it needs to become even more standardized across the industry. Uh, uh, like an industry, I think this was Stepan Simkin from Squads who mentioned this in one of his tweets. Is that uh, if you're trying to build build standards in an industry which is just building their own standards, nobody's actually building anything. So every team needs that. Like every team is solving things differently right now, but eventually it will come to a point where uh, people use the same thing. Um, Composability is another gap. Many privacy solutions that exist right now uh, are still too isolated to play with the broader DeFi ecosystem. The shared encrypted state model that Arcium has built uh, is mostly solving this issue. And for the user experience, that's where Umbra comes in. We want to make privacy as simple as using your current wallets or your current neobanks. So yeah, these are the gaps that I see, and that's a big part of what me and the team at Umbra and Arcium are focused on.
Awesome, man. I feel like it seems very similar to interoperability like 3 or 4 years ago, where you had like wrap
Yeah,
tokens and then like different versions of assets, and then there were like different isolated chains where assets couldn't come through. I think obviously
yeah,
the privacy space has evolved a lot in the last 2 years. Price action obviously helps with that a little bit,
uh yeah,
but the real adoption comes when the tech is ready, and it feels like based on this conversation that the tech is ready. It's just the over-ending sort of user experiences like Umbra
yeah,
that will
right,
give users the confidence to be like, okay, this is like I actually need this in my day to day. Like
right,
I don't
right.
want to do anything. But crew, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for the time. It's been awesome sort of hearing through the MetaDAO experience, working with the
Yeah,
Arcium team.
absolutely.
Working with I didn't know that you were part of Super Team earlier. I think that's an awesome thing for everyone to learn as well.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much for coming on. Very excited to see when Umbra gets live. And yeah,
yeah.
looking forward to it. Thank you so much for the time.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's an honor being here. Thank you so much.
Always, man.